Hello everybody, welcome back. Jiu-Jitsu 2000 here today. I'm back with an interesting video for you. Today I want to talk about the Pathfinder Phase 1 certification course. More specifically, I want to talk with you guys today about Block 5, Module 1. We're going to be talking about our first fires. Stay with me, I hope you enjoy the video. We need to create 3 tinder bundles that we can use. You can see that I have a lot of jute here, all shredded up, okay? For the lack of a better description, this is going to be my innermost layer that I'm going to put in my tinder bundles, okay? So I'm going to, and this might be way more than I need. I just, sitting at home watching TV and I process that jute. So this is going to be really thin fibers that are going to ignite easily. I need 2 more layers though to this tinder bundle. I need one of thicker layers and one of real thick layers. So when you take this cordage, this jute, okay, and you break this 3-ply down like this, bear with me here, you see how that separates into 3-ply? This is going to be my secondary layer. It's going to be nothing but 3 of these single 3-plies broke down. So these singles is going to be a little bit thicker than this thin stuff, but still thinner than the jute itself. So I'm going to break down a bunch of these little guys just down to their individual fibers, just like this. And I'm going to be adding these to my tinder bundle. What'll happen is when I ignite these sources, this stuff being so fine and so light, it'll burn quickly. So we need something a little bit heavier but still small, which will ignite and burn a little bit longer, and that's going to be what these layers are for. And then eventually, after we have layers like that, we're going to put just layers of jute as a 3rd layer. So we're going to go thin, medium, and thick on our tinder bundle. You can see that I have my 3 layers. Now I'm going to show you what a single tinder bundle should look like. I'm going to open up these fibers really good because I had it really compact. I just broke it all down at the house and then I really compact it down. So now that I'm getting ready to produce a tinder bundle for fire, I want to loosen everything up so that it'll easily take a spark or some sort of ignition. Whether it's a lighter, whether it's a solar, whether it's ferro rod, flint and steel, char cloth, whatever, we want this thing nice and loose. You can see that that's about the size of a baseball or even a softball. So now I'm going to take a few of these mediums, just like this, and I'm just going to fold them, kind of just lay them into the bundle. I want that extra little bit, just like this, nothing too crazy. Now I'm going to take some of these larger ones and I'm just going to lay them across like this, and that gives me a good tinder bundle. Gives me 3 different layers of ignition. So what I'll do is I'll open up the center just like this, and this is where I'm going to put my ember, right there in the center. Or if it's a ferro rod, I'll light this, and once this thing lights, I'm going to flip it up on itself, and that's where it's going to start igniting these mediums and then these larges right here on the top. So that's the idea. Now I'm not going to do this with all the tinder bundles today. I'm only going to do this for this one, just for demonstration, just to show you the proper technique. I'm going to split this first bundle into 2 pieces because I want to show 2 separate ferro rod ideas. The first one that I want to share with you is the Lightning Strike Fire Starter. Okay, this is an amazing ferro rod. So if you haven't seen these, please check them out. Go to Hall & Guns, check them out. I don't get anything from them. I'm not sponsored by them or nothing. I just believe in their product. It's a really good product. I really like it. So the first one I'm going to bring right here, and I'm going to show you how simple. I'll actually make it a little small. I'm going to make this a very small bundle. I'm going to show you how simple this thing is. It has a nice stainless steel striker here, and it has a ferrocerium rod inside. So I'm just going to hold it close and push some sparks right into the tinder pile, and you can see how simple it was to ignite that. That's the first tinder pile, using a ferro rod with Again, this is the lightning strike. It's an excellent device. I take that thing everywhere I go. The next idea that I want to show you is just a standard ferro rod. Now this one happens to be from a friend of mine, and it's laid into a piece of fat wood. I like this because I can use the spine of my knife to bring some of this fat wood off, make these little curls right here you can see on my spine of my knife. And what I'll do is I'll create a small pile of those, and then I'll ignite it with the ferro rod, and the fat wood will light up. If it's windy, or should I say inclement outside, I can use that fat wood, and I have it everywhere I go. I like this stuff because it's waterproof. You know, if it's raining, I have fat wood and I can still shave it off and use it. So for the second technique, what I like to do personally is I like to park my knife very close to my body, and I like to draw my ferro rod back away from the knife. Instead of pushing my knife forward like this, the lack of technique doing it this way would sometimes disrupt my tinder pile. So again, I like to park my hand on my foot and draw the ferro rod away. This, you can see, ignited my tinder pile very easily. This is just a standard little ferro rod, nothing crazy. Comes from a friend of mine. Let's do that technique one more time. So I'm going to take a little more tinder here. I love this jute. It takes forever to process. Honestly, I like natural tinder better. But this stuff, I mean, it goes up very easily. Let's try that one more time. So I'm just kind of leaning in. You have to have a good spine on your knife. If you don't have a good spine on your knife, you're going to have a little bit of trouble. So you see how I just drew the ferro rod back, and it ignited that thing really nice. Now if I had pine needles or something like that available, which when I make fires, I don't do anything with making a spark until I have everything laid out. I've got my smalls, my tinder, my fuel, all that stuff close by, and I have that all ready to go long before I throw that spark. But I have some black material. This is char cloth. I'm going to set the char cloth on the rock, and then I'm going to take my striker, which is a piece of steel here, and I'm going to go downward like this in this kind of a motion. And the idea is, as the steel hits the rock, it's going to throw little sparks off of the steel, and it's actually little pieces of steel coming off. They're about 600 to 800 degrees. Those sparks are, and I'm hoping that the sparks will bounce up onto this char cloth, and once the char accepts the spark, then I have an ember, at which point in time I'm going to put that ember into my tinder bundle and blow it into flame. Now I'm not going to be able to talk a lot once that happens, because I'm going to have to pay very close attention to my tinder bundle. The idea at that point though is the more smoke that I see, the more I'm going to blow. If I don't see a lot of smoke, I'm not going to blow very hard, but if I see a lot of smoke, I'm going to blow harder. So this movement right here is going to be very fast and very abrupt. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. I already have ignition on the second hit. You can see that up in the top, hopefully. I'm shaking it so it'll, hopefully you can see that orange up there glowing. I'm going to lay that into my tinder pile, just like this. I'm going to fold this up around it like a taco, and I'm going to start blowing this thing hopefully into flame. Woo! A lot of smoke. And there is our ignition with flint and steel. It's best, if you can, to blow upward away from, so you want to blow up if you can. I couldn't really do that so well because of the camera angle. But you can see that I have a nice little fire with that jute and that. Remember, I made the real fine material, then I made the medium type material, and then I made the regular jute itself. And that gives me plenty of time to put things on that, you know, smalls, and then get that thing going, get my fire going where it's going to be sustainable. So it's a great technique to practice. It does take a little bit of time. It can be somewhat frustrating, and it's important again to note that the more smoke you see, the more you blow. If you're not seeing a bunch of smoke and it's barely smoking, and if you blow too much at that point, then what could happen is you could unfortunately blow it out. And we don't want to do that, obviously, because we're trying to create fire, not blow it out. But that's a little idea about flint and steel. That was our second fire starting method. Works pretty good. Looks like that piece is a little fat. I'm just messing around more than anything right now. I'm not actually trying to make a fire. But that's flint and steel. Okay, everybody. I didn't like the way that last film showed on this flint and steel ignition. So I moved the camera. I made another tinder bundle. It's not a very big one. This jute takes a lot of time to process out here, and I didn't want to burn too much daylight. But I just wanted to redo this section because I want you guys to understand clearly that I do own this skill, and I don't like the way that last video looked. So let's try this one more time, and let's see if I can get a better video for you guys to demonstrate this skill. I'm not going to do an extreme close-up this time. Had it. Starting to think that this char cloth is not good char cloth. So let me try another piece. I think that char cloth there might have been overdone. Let's try this piece here. This piece looks a little blacker. That other piece was almost gray. Got it. Okay, we're going to lay this down for a second. We got plenty of time. Don't need to rush anything. This tinder bundle, I just kind of put this thing together very quickly. And the most important thing that I kind of wanted to show right now in this little clip is that I'm blowing upward. So hopefully you can see that. I'm going to let that ignite a little bit more, because I was about to lose that. Okay, I need more char before I lose it. I'm going to try those pieces that were marginal. I still have an ember down there. I'm just going to transfer it into this other char and see if I can get it to go. There's one thing about jute, I don't care for it that much. I like natural tinder much better. I think my success rate on natural tinder is much better than it is with this jute. Even though I was able to get it done, I came across a couple problems. I had to add more char. I just don't care for that jute. I mean, it's good stuff, but I would much rather have juniper bark out here as my tinder. But hopefully that gives you guys a better glimpse of my flint and steel ignition. Again, I didn't blow it to flame. I mean, as far as making a complete fire, I just wanted to demonstrate the ignition. I still have some char in there. Wonder if I can blow this, just out of curiosity. Wonder if I can get this to a flame. Fire's fun sometimes. I'm like a pyro. So there, we got it. Let's talk about some solar ignition. Right now you can see I have a series of things here. I have a ball of jute twine. Okay, this is balled up really tight, just like this. I have some elk droppings, and I have some punk wood. These are ignition things that I like to use. You could also add char cloth to this list. I'm going to go ahead and try to get this thing lit. I don't really care for jute as far as solar ignition. I would rather use some other techniques. But while I have a little bit of sun, I'm going to try to focus this beam enough to get this thing lit. Now I want you guys to understand that solar ignition, I'm not trying to get this to come to a flame. I'm simply trying to get it to be an ember. So I'm trying to move the light around. I'm trying to focus the light and move it around enough so I can get the most amount of surface area lit as possible. Now, you might be wondering how I'll know if it's lit or not. And that's simple to find out. When I remove the light and the lens from this piece of bundle right here, and it continues to smoke, that's an indicator that this thing is lit. Now, with solar ignition, from what I've found, is it takes a lot of patience and plenty of practice. So I'm going to hold this with my finger, and I'm going to blow down a little bit of light air on it real quick. And I hear the sound. Which tells me I have an ember. Now at this point, I need to be patient. I'm going to show you kind of the same thing with this elk dropping. While this is developing, I don't know if it's going to stay lit or not. Hopefully it'll stay lit, but I'm going to show you the same thing with elk dropping. Any kind of animal that eats vegetables, and, well, not vegetables, but eats plants, horses, cows, elk, deer, rabbits, caribou, moose, all of these animals, they produce nature's natural tinder, which is perfect for solar ignition. And the main thing is it has to be dry. So let's see if I got that one going. I think that one's going. Let's try this punky wood real quick. See if I can get this punk wood going. The sun has not been very good today. It's been going in and out of the clouds, and it's not been a good day for solar ignition. But these are some ideas. Let's see, is this elk still going? Nope, it went out. Let's try that one again. Let's see if we can light it back up. Again, folks, it has to be any animal that eats any kind of grass or just moving the light around a little bit, trying to get as much surface area going. And it looks like I have it going. I also have the punk wood going. Let's go back to this jute while I have a little bit of sunlight right now. See if we can't get this jute going, because that's really what I wanted to show, was the jute. The jute's kind of difficult though, honestly. I'd rather use natural things. The elk droppings and the punk wood works really good. Thank goodness the sun came out. You know, the cool thing about solar ignition is this is a fire that doesn't take any resources from you. In other words, you're not removing material off of your ferro rod. You're not, you know, using the spine of your knife or anything like that. You're just using the sun and some natural materials. So I think I might have this jute going. I'm not sure. I know that elk dung is definitely going, and the punkwood was going. It looks like the punkwood might have went out. See, I believe that I have this jute going, so I'm going to try to lay this jute in this bundle here and taco it up. Adjust my camera a little bit. I'm going to try to blow this baby to flame. I don't have the best bundle here because I use them for different things, and I was actually sitting over there working on more bundles, and then the sun came out again. So the idea is the more smoke you see, the more you blow, and you want to blow upward because heat rises, folks. I know you guys might be sitting there thinking, man, this guy's blowing really hard. You kind of have to with jute. I'm noticing that my little ember in there is starting to burn through. Looks like I lost my ember, but I still have this elk one going, so I'm going to drop that in. I don't care for this jute, folks. I'd much rather have a natural tinder bundle. This stuff is, in my opinion, difficult to get going. I'm just going to let that smolder a little bit because I'm not liking the way this is going. While I have sun, I'm going to try to hit this punkwood again. So this bundle's just going to sit here for a minute and let it kind of go, and I'm going to hit this punkwood again. It actually flamed up there for a second. There's actually a flame on this punkwood. It's crazy. I'm going to insert that in and see what happens. It went out, of course, but let me put that in the bundle here. Okay, we definitely have some ignition. Let's take this and see if we can't get a flame out of it. Punk wood went out. Well, we got a flame. Good deal. That was a little bit of a chore to get that thing going. I really honestly don't care for this jute, folks. Punk wood and this, you know, this elk droppings, they work really good. But this jute is a pickle to get going. Of course, the sun is not real strong today, but I've used jute before, and it seems like every time, even when I have great sun, jute is always a pickle to get going. You can see that punk wood burning. I'm going to take this Fresnel lens and see if I can't get that punk wood going. Or at least get an ember on it. Get it kind of lit. If I'd have had a better tinder bundle, that would have been great, but I burned all my tinder bundles. So I use a Fresnel lens. They work real good. I use this big lens, and I use another smaller lens, all three of them. I keep these lenses, this is glass one, I keep it in this old sunglasses piece here. And that's good to have, because you never know what you're going to do. I always keep one of these Fresnel lenses in my wallet, because they work really well. It's a little bit windy out, so you can see that the wind is naturally helping. But gosh, folks, that jute, in my opinion, is just difficult. I'd have rather had a cedar bundle or a juniper bundle. It's a lot of work getting that jute going, in my opinion. Natural bundle here that I'm going to use. I have a little bit of sunlight, so I'm going to try to get this elk stuff ignited here. This works pretty good. Usually it'll make a pretty decent little flame, or not a flame, but it'll make a nice little ember. I believe I have it. If not, I'll hit it again. Just let it work this stuff a little bit while I'm waiting for it. No, it didn't go. That's okay. So another thing that I like to do is when I get my tinder bundle like this, I like to take some of this. Actually, it is going. I'm just going to let that build. This material right here is very fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this material and I'm just going to put it around this elk dung like that. I'm just going to set that all right there in my tinder bundle. I'm going to take another piece of this elk dropping and I'm just going to make like a powder, for the lack of a better description. Just going to make like a little tinder powder, if you will. Just like that. I'm going to drop that right on the top. Be careful not to smother it. And if you do, just take your lens and light that powder. Now you're not going to get a flame out of it, but what you will usually get is you'll usually get solar ignition. You'll get some sort of smoke, and you'll get like an ember, like a coal out of it. So just let that thing go. And this whole thing is about patience. It's about giving this thing time to graduate. We want it to naturally get larger. So in the meantime, I'm just going to process a little bit of this, and I'm going to let that smolder. And if you want to keep the sunlight, you know, if you want to keep the Fresnel lens or your magnifying lens on it, you can. You can also introduce a little bit of light air to it. And what that does, that dust if you will, it's kind of the same thing as a bow drill. In fact, I use this a lot when I want to do a bow drill fire. I'll use this as dust to cheat because it works good to fill the notch. And the reason I do that is because it doesn't take as much material off of my spindle or my hearth, because I'll replace it with this elk dust, if you will. So I'm just coming around just trying to ignite as much as I can. I just want plenty of ignition here. Solar ignition. And I know that this is natural material and it's not jute, but honestly folks, I think this is a simpler technique. That jute, I butt my head with that jute all the time, and I use it, but maybe I'm just better off with natural. I mean, I've always used natural materials, so I guess I'm more used to it. I'm going to introduce a little bit of air. It's not ready for a lot of air. Let's go for more ignition here. I'm waiting until I know for a fact that I have a decent sized coal in there. And how do I know that? I know that by the amount of smoke that I'm getting and how hard I'm able to blow on it. And if you want to ignite another piece and put it elsewhere in the bundle, you can. Put more dust on it. Just be careful not to smother it. It does need air. If you smother the hole where the smoke's coming out, there's a chance you could take the oxygen away and it will extinguish. So all we're doing right now is we're letting the inside build up. We're getting this core inside that's hot. And I know that I'm blowing down. I know this. And I know normally you want to blow upward because heat rises. I totally get that. Okay, now let's change this camera angle, and we're going to pick this baby up and we're going to try to blow this thing to flame. Now's the point where I'm going to blow underneath. I had flames. There we go. See the little flames? We have ignition. This was solar ignition. Hopefully you can see that. Down in the pit down there, that's what we got. And that was all natural materials. I felt like that works better. For me anyway. I'm more used to it, I guess. I'll try the jute again here in a second. So I got the jute, broke down. Let's kind of wrap these in. So you want to use your ferro rod, right? Again, but you don't want to use the spine of your knife. Just take a piece of glass and use that to ignite your material. Lay these babies right on top, and that'll get you started. That'll get your fire started right there. Just a broken piece of glass, folks. You saw how quick that ignited. You got these little pieces right here. You can kind of pull them out and they'll help sustain your flame a little bit. And that's the beauty about having that kind of a tinder bundle. It just works very well. So that's a little trick that you can use on your ferro rod. Again, it throws amazing sparks. I mean, it throws really good solid sparks. And the thing about glass, if you start getting a spot that's dull, just move it up on the glass to another spot and you'll still get really nice sparks out of it. You can also use the glass if you wanted to process some of that fat wood. You know, if you wanted to save the spine of your knife, but you want to process a little bit of fat wood up, you could do that as well. So you make your little pile. Well, while we're here and we're talking about the topic of fire, I wanted to talk to you about steel wool, and more specifically 4/0 steel wool. This is the finest steel wool that you can find, and I really like using this as a fire starting tinder. Now, I'm going to share with you some methods that I like to use this as tinder. So let me pull one of these little pieces out. So I'm going to set this little rock right here. So the first method, I'm going to take a little piece of steel wool here. First thing I want to do with this first method is I want to open up these fibers as much as I can, just like I would if it was a cotton ball or something like that. And taking a battery source, we can just ignite the terminals. You see that stuff just glowing away, and that makes it excellent tinder for starting fires. Another method that's common is to take another little piece here. Again, we got to open the fibers. My apology for the background noise. I'm at home and somebody's yelling at the dog. Neighbor, I guess. So I'm going to take my flint and I'm going to hold this just as if I did with my char cloth. I'm going to hold it against my flint here, and hopefully we'll get the option of knocking a spark on it. So that was a flint and steel ignition. You can see that that works really well. Another option that you can use to ignite this steel wool, okay, I got another piece here, is if you have an old lighter. Okay, now this lighter doesn't work anymore, it doesn't have any fuel in it, but sometimes you can get that thing to ignite steel wool. So an old beat up lighter. Another option for lighting steel wool is your standard Ferro rod. So here I have a Ferro rod and I have a small piece of steel wool there. A couple little hits of the Ferro rod and we have perfect ignition. This is a great tinder, great fire starter. 4/0 steel wool. Okay folks, for this method I have my steel wool and I have a Fresnel lens. You can find these are like flex, and I leave them in the packaging. I don't even take them out. So you see my rock there, and what I need to do is I need to focus this beam to a very small beam. Hopefully you can see that on the camera. I'm going to take a small piece here and I'm going to make a little ball. Not too tight, but I'm going to try to ignite that little ball. And I'm just focusing the sun's energy on as many areas as I can. You can see there, hopefully on the camera, that this is ignited. Hopefully you can see that. But that's another method of igniting your steel wool. solar ignition. So in my opinion, this is one of the best fire starting tinders that a person can get. 4/0 steel wool, many uses for it. So folks, I want to say thank you for watching the video today. I hope you got some good useful information out of this. Please feel free to leave comments down below, like this video, share this video, and if you like the content in my channel, please subscribe. We'd love to have you and it helps us out. And until next time, have a beautiful day. Don't forget to get out there and get yourself some 4/0 steel wool, the finest one you can find. Thanks for watching.